Hello everybody, how are you doing? Welcome to episode 6 of the DJ Bagpuss Show, where this is going to be talking about my school days. Are you sitting comfortably? Are you paying attention? Textbooks away, because the lesson is about to begin. This is episode 6 of the DJ Bagpuss Show, and we are going to be revisiting my school days, and it's going to be the first episode for the remaining episodes of the DJ Bagpuss Show that are all going to be in just one long video. So sit back, relax and enjoy. It's not going to be in parts, it's just going to be one full video, and I hope you guys enjoyed this episode and the episodes to come as well. We'll be talking about my school days in huge detail. We're going to be revisiting my school days, talking about the origins of DJ Bagpuss, how it came about, talking about lovely things about my school, talking about primary school, talking about the transition from secondary school into college, primary school into secondary school, talking about all of that good stuff, and basically just giving my thoughts on my school days, as I am coming to the end of my education. You know, we're at the point now where I've been in education now for 12, 13 years, so it's time now to kind of reflect and look back on my school days in kind of a little bit of detail. We don't normally get the chance to, share and talk about our school days in length like I'm going to do today. So, hope you enjoy this video. Sit back, relax. If you do enjoy this video and enjoying the series so far, please show your appreciation by hitting that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you are new around here, I'll leave links to the first 5 episodes of the DJ Bagpuss Show in the description, the first 2 episodes of Bagpuss Uncut as well, and all of that good stuff. You also can get involved by talking about your school days. Get involved in the conversation by leaving your questions, comments, or queries down in the comment section below. Take the conversation on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at DJ Bagpuss 1998, where I will be. That is the place where I literally share everything and anything you need to know about the DJ Bagpuss Show. And also tweet me using the hashtag at DJ Bagpuss Show to talk about my school days. Well, also use the hashtag school days to get involved. Well, before we get into it, I just want to say thank you. Thank you once again. I'm a bit of a soppy YouTuber, but it is time to be soppy, because my first episode of Bagpuss Uncut literally today hit 100 views, and we are around 12 views away from hitting 1,000 views. I'll do a separate video about 1,000 views when we hit that gigantic milestone. A lot of you will be watching episode 5 of the DJ Bagpuss Show that I've literally just come from uploading, and that is on my channel right now. You guys will be seeing this next Friday, but you'll be seeing it at the time I'm recording. You'll be watching episode 5 of the DJ Bagpuss Show, which was a really fun episode talking about my love for video games. So that's all good. I've got some water here because as I'm going to be talking for probably well over an hour, it's probably good to keep my mouth solid to actually start talking. So I'm going to be drinking a couple of times throughout the episode, because I'm not doing it in parts. And normally, when I've been doing the DJ Bagpuss Show in parts, I've literally just been, doing the part and then just gulping, gallons and gallons of water in between parts. So hope you don't mind that. But yeah, it's going to be a really fun episode. I'm literally wearing, as you can see there, this is what I used to wear when I went to secondary school. Obviously, take away the tie and the blazer or the the sweatshirt, but this is what I was wearing. A white shirt, black trousers. I'm also going to a party tonight. Shout out to my mate Ben Fullerlove. It's his party tonight. I'll see you later on. He's been watching the DJ Bagpuss Show this morning, so that's going to be really fun. Really excited about that. So it's a fun day today, but we're going to talk about my school days. We're going to go into huge detail and talk about it. And I'm going to basically talk about it like as a timeline. So I'm going to start by talking about secondary school. I know, the timeline would mathematically mean that I should start in primary school, but the bulk of what I'm going to talk about and all the exciting things that I did, in my school came in secondary school. And yes, I could start with primary school, but we want to start with the exciting stuff, don't we? We want to start with the exciting stuff. We want to talk about the exciting stuff. So I'm going to start by talking about secondary school. And then I'm going to be talking about when I returned to my secondary school for work experience. Then talk about primary school. Then talk about the transition from primary school to secondary school, memories and what that was like. Briefly talk about me leaving secondary school to go to college, but I spoke about that quite in detail already in my first episode of the DJ Bagpuss Show. So I'm not going to spend too much on that. And then finally give my final thoughts and advice to a lot of you on school in general, because a lot of my demographic are still in school. You know, they're the ages between 13 and 17, so they're in school. And then my next demographic, you know, my most viewed age range who watch my videos is 18 to 24, so it's people that have recently just left school. So hopefully you'll be able to reflect. If you went to school with me, because I know some people that went to my old school watch my videos as well, you might be able to relate with some of the things that I'm going to be talking about. So hopefully you enjoy this episode. I'm really excited to do this episode, and let's get the episode underway, and let's talk about my love for school. Not really my love for school, but just my school days in general, because for me, school was one of those times which, you know, no one, I mean, some people love school, but I wasn't the sort of person that, you know, adored school. I wanted to get there, get my education, you know, get my grades under my belt, mess around with friends, because I was a little bit mischievous in school. I wasn't a naughty kid, you know, but you know, every kid at some point when they have a chance to mess around, if they can seize the opportunity that this is where they can mess around in a lesson and potentially, you know, more importantly, get away with it, then that is what they're going to be doing. But yeah, so, you know, I didn't, you know, it wasn't necessarily school was my favourite thing. I didn't go up and go, let's go to school today, I'm so excited. You know, it wasn't like that. But, you know, it wasn't something I absolutely, you know, hated. But, you know, it's kind of a time that school is really important because it defines you as a person. You know, it kind of sets you down the road of what you want to be, where do you want to go, you know, what kind of person are you. You know, you make your friends, you know, you study and get grades that are going to affect your entire future. So it's a huge, you know, chunk, and particularly secondary school, you know, it's 5 years. It's a long time to be in, you know, potentially one place. And, you know, a lot of us, we just mess around in school and just hope for the best. But looking back, it's a really important part, and it's such a long part of your life. You know, I've been in education now for nearly 14 years, and it's a long time. You know, and people say the school days are the best days of your life. I'm not too sure about it, but it does you know, fly by. Like people say, I just can't wait to leave school. I can't wait to get a job. But believe you me, time will fly when you're in school. I mean, it was only yesterday that I was starting, you know, secondary school for the first time. So it's a very kind of strange kind of scenario for me, knowing that I'm right at the end of my education. You know, it's kind of baffling. It's kind of terrifying. But let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to when I'm just about to start year 7. So it's the summer of 2010. I've left primary school. I'll get onto that about the leaving thing. You know, I've gone round, found out what school I wanted to go to, what secondary school that I wanted to attend. I've done all the paperwork. I've left primary school. This summer, you know, in September, I'm starting, you know, secondary school for the very first time. And for me, that summer, I remember it was kind of a case of nervousness and excitement, you know, on both fronts. Because on one hand, you're really excited because you're in a new surrounding. You know, you're attending a new school. You're still in that kind of primary school mentality phase where you kind of think to yourself, you know, oh, you know, I'm still a kid. What about golden time? What about doing all the great stuff like that? And you're still in that kind of that childhood phase. You're not really, you know, you're not really kind of ready to grow up and become a bit more of an adult that you have to be in secondary school. You know, you start the road to becoming an adult in secondary school. You know, primary school, you've had your fun, you've had your games, and now it's time to really, you know, settle down and, you know, start the journey of your life basically in secondary school. And the nervousness also is that because it's new surroundings, you don't know what you're going to expect. You know, am I going to like it? Am I going to like the teachers? Am I going to make new friends? Am I going to, you know, get on with the new surroundings of the school? Am I going to get lost? There's so many questions that kind of fizzle around and you know, spin around in your head as you're building up to, you know, starting secondary school, and you know, you're sitting there and you kind of don't know where you're going to go or what you're going to do. You know, as if to say, you know, it's the unknown, which is, you know, so nerve-wracking because you don't know what to expect, but you're excited of, you know, new opportunities and new possibilities. So it's kind of a 50-50 mixture of both. But, you know, I remember doing all the ritual thing, you know, speaking to my friends over the summer who were coming to the new school that I was, getting my school uniform, which, you know, you go into that shop, you know, you go with your mum, you go into the shop, you try on your uniform, and I used to wear a blazer, white shirt, trousers, so I'd get the blazer and get my tie up, learn how to do a tie, get it all the way up, get all the buttons done so I look smart and pristine, that lasts probably about a year at best. You know, you get to your 8, you just can't be asked to get yourself presentable. But in that first year, you know, you want to make a good impression. You don't want to be the person that stands out and sticks out like a sore thumb. You want to make your mark. You want to stamp your authority and ground onto the new school, and you want to look your absolute best to do this. We all have that. You know, we go to get our brand new uniform, and you know, you have the whole thing. Well. Can we go to have McDonald's after it? You know, you always try and persuade your mum that you can do something that you enjoy after getting your uniform, because it's not the most exciting thing getting a uniform, but you want to look your absolute best. You want to look absolutely pristine, and then it builds up and up and up, and you get to the point where it's the night before. You know, you're rolling around in bed, you're having visions of what your new school is going to be like. You're nervous, you're excited, you can't believe the moment is nearly there. You're about to start your brand new school. It's the brand new term. You're at a brand new school. You're starting secondary school for the first time. It is a huge, huge moment. And I remember that morning I woke up, having breakfast, got on my uniform, you know, made sure that I looked my absolute best. Although at the time, I had no idea what hair gel was or hairspray. I literally just combed over. You saw the pictures right at the start of the episode. I just combed over my hair and just thought, that's for the best. You know, that was generally me. It was like I was oblivious to hair gel and hairspray, which obviously I am now. But back in the day, I didn't care. I couldn't even be asked. You know, I didn't want to, you know, mess about with my hair. But I got my uniform on, got my shirt, got my black trousers, got my blazer on, got my tie, which I've been learning all summer to actually do a tie. And this was it. I got in the car, and my school was in driving distance, was about 3-4 minutes away, so it was a really short drive. My mum was telling me, you know, oh, good luck today, you're going to be great, don't worry, you know, enjoy yourself, find out as much as you can. And I remember she said to me, just try not to be an idiot, which is fair enough. You know, it's fair enough. It's advice that I get every time I start a new place. Just don't be an idiot, or maybe a stronger bit of language than idiot, but you know, you get what I mean. But I remember driving up, and it was a really, our school, our old building, they refurbished later on in my school life. But you know, the building was like 100 years old. It was like a Victorian building office, and I remember getting dropped off at the car park saying, you know, Mum, bye, see you later, can we have McDonald's tonight for dinner? Because I was obsessed with McDonald's when I was a kid. Still obsessed with it now. But you know, I remember walking into the office, and there was like 6 teachers. There was 3 on the left, 3 on the right hand side of the door, and they were saying, you know, welcome to your new school, you know, go through that room, take a left, and then you go into a hall. And I was at this point slightly nervous, because it was at this point where I was so excited, but when I was actually there, I sort of had this kind of nerves that started to set in. You know, nerves started to take over me a little bit, because it was a brand new surrounding, and I just didn't really know, you know, what was going to happen, where I was going to go. And I remember walking into this hall, and I kid you not, there was about 250 kids. The whole room was packed with just new students, and they were all congregating in little groups. You know, you had massive groups, and you had a couple of people on their own that didn't know where to look. And it was quite a, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? It was quite patronising. That's the word I'm looking for, patronising. You know, it was quite a patronising position to be in, because you had like over hundreds and hundreds of kids looking at you. You know, they were searching the place out. They were, you know, observing their surroundings, if you like. They were seeing, you know, who their new, you know, students were. They were looking ahead. They were scouting their eye over, you know, who looked great, who didn't look great, you know. And because we all have that bad habit that we make a first impression without even speaking to someone. So we're not even without speaking to anyone. We're not even speaking to that person. And we have this kind of really bad habit where we judge them, we prejudge them even before we've said one thing to them, and we all do it. And I just remember feeling quite patronised by just a huge quantity of kids in this hall. And I mean, luckily for me, a couple of people that went to my primary school, that I knew that was going to my secondary school. I knew, so you kind of do that thing. If you know someone, you're friends with someone, you all congregate in that area. You know, you all kind of move into that area. You all stay together. You say, we'll stick together. We'll just see how it goes. So I wasn't alone. I had a couple of friends with me, but the amount of eyes that are just set on you, and the amount of kids in this hall is just, you know, staggering. You know, I was flabbergasted by the sheer quantity of students, and I didn't think they were all going to be in one hall. And then, you know, it's quite loud. There's a lot of people talking, lots of excitement. You know, you get that atmosphere, and you know, in your ear you can hear all of these different sounds. You know, the atmosphere is huge, and then silence, absolute silence fills the hall when the massive doors right at the top of the stage open, and like 8 or 9 teachers walk themselves down the stairs and line up in accordingly. They look absolutely like soldiers. They look like soldiers that are about to go into battle, because they're all standing there in like, you know, 6 or 7 different rows, and you're just like, what, you know, what is going on? You know, they're standing there basically like soldiers. You know, they're in perfect file, they're in single line, and this is when, you know, these are your new form teachers. These are the ones, because in school, obviously, before you go off into different lessons with different teachers around the school, you have that first kind of 15 minutes during the day where you're in form, kind of settling in. They take the register and you're with your own form group. And for me, you know, I knew this was going to happen, but there was a few of them, which is so stereotypical. You scout them yourself, so they're scouting you, you're scouting them. And you know, I was thinking to myself, right, there's a guy over there. He looks like the alpha male wolf pack. I don't want to mess with him. She looks really kind and happy. I really want her as my form teacher. And then you've got, she looks like she could kill me by just looking at me. She looks like that she could pull me in two and rip me to pieces, you know, just by me saying one word. And you kind of have prejudging these form teachers, because some look, you know, really kind and warm and lovely and, you know, brilliant, and others look like that they really could kill you. Like, you know, these are the sort of people that will chew you up and spit you out the other side if you go in, you know, anywhere near them or cross them. Luckily, my form teacher was someone who was, I prejudged as a really nice and kind lady, and she was. Yeah, and she was the youngest there as well. Most of them were like in their 50s and 60s, so that was good. That was good. And people in my form, there was a few people in my form that I knew from primary school, so this was like great. This was double. And what they do when you start year 7 at a secondary school is normally it's just you in the school that day. You know, the rest of the school, you know, year 8, 9, 10, 11 are all, you know, still on holiday, because they feel like it would probably be a little bit unfair if they just drop you in this brand new school, which has, you know, 300-400 different students. You know, that would be a little bit troublesome, wouldn't it, if you had, you know, all of these, you know, different sets of students all in one go. It would be a little bit overwhelming. So you have the complete school to yourself in these two, basically like induction days, which they always do. So they take you to the classroom. You then have to do this thing where you have to get up and, you know, you have to say your name and one great thing about you. I remember literally they said, right, next person stand up, and it was me. I went, hello there, my name is Stephen and I'm a person. And then just sat down. I couldn't think of anything funny or anything creative about me. I literally just said, hi, I'm Stephen and I'm a person. I remember that to the day. Did get a big laugh. But looking back, it was just me. I didn't really know what to say. And a lot of people were saying, you know, my cat's called Fluffy, or, you know, I'm a great skateboarder. One person said that he sat on his brother's face in the summer and it felt very nice. Yeah, we had a bit of that. We'll get to the weirdness and funniness of school, don't you worry. But so yeah, we did all of that. We then have a beautiful tour around the school where we go to see every different classroom. And this is the next thing that you sort of feel like is really, really kind of daunting, because at primary school, you know, you're just set to one classroom. You go into a classroom at 9 o'clock, you leave at 3 o'clock in the same classroom. And if you go to different classrooms to do different lessons, you're accompanied and escorted by your teacher. You know, you stay in the safety and confines of that classroom, and if you have different subjects, you're always taken with your teacher. Now in secondary school, it's a completely different kettle of fish. You know, you are now with, you know, you've got to go from lesson to lesson to lesson with, you know, loads of different teachers, and you have got to, you know, be on your toes. You've got to know where you're going, otherwise you're going to be late for lessons. You've got to make sure that you know exactly where you're going. And the school is, flipping, enormous. How am I meant to know where to go? I've got to basically revise, not a lesson, I've got to revise, the map of the school. And, so you have all of that, and, it probably takes about a good first 2 terms before you kind of know where you're going. Because once you do all your lessons for the first couple of weeks, you kind of, memorise in your head where you actually have to go. So, it takes about probably, I'd say a term or 2 to kind of know where you're going. And if you are late a couple of times or get lost, then the teachers don't normally punish you because you've just started a brand new school. But yeah, and then you get, your famous planner. Now, I remember getting my planner, and this was my lifeline. This was like my phone. This was my second port of call. This is where I had to be. This is what I had to use to basically survive in the world of school. And I remember that first year, I kept my planner all nicely. Every bit of homework, I'd write down every single thing, keep it all neat and tidy, put banners, borders, make it look, really pristine. That lasted, I would say, probably the first year. The second year, I couldn't even be asked. I got this homework, didn't write them down. That fades straight away. And, you in that first year, you tried to be that perfect student. Because, well, I did anyway, because it was a brand new school. I didn't want to be labelled as, someone of an outcast. And normally when I'm not shy talking to people, as you can clearly see, but I kind of don't want to have that, reputation of a person who wants to, you always have that guy in school who talks for England, the guy that is so far up himself, or the girl that's so far up herself that, you can see that behind, and it is not a pretty behind. You always have the cocky one, you always have the really confident one, you always have the really popular one, you have these stereotypical people at school, and you get them everywhere. And I didn't want to be a stereotypical person. I just wanted to be me, which means when I wanted to speak to people, I would in a general way, and I wouldn't do anything out of place that made me look like, a bit of a douche, or, someone that people would recognise. But, so, we had all of that, and I think that first year, in year 7, it's really, it's basically, you can write that year off, basically, year 7, because it's a transitional year. It's like managers who come into new football clubs, they have that year where they have to just, they've got their squad, they've got new squads, they've got new players, they're in new surroundings, so it basically takes like probably 12 months to really feel comfortable and get into the swing of the job. And then it's the same at school. You're at a new school, you've been at a primary school for 4 or 5 years. It will take you the first year to really feel like you're at home and settle down into, your new surroundings. And that was for me. It took me a good year to feel safe. Not feel safe, but feel happy at where I was. Do you know what I mean? You have to, and you make sure that you don't do anything wrong, you don't get into trouble, that you keep your plan tidy, you listen in all your lessons. A couple of lessons, like we had a music teacher who was really laid back, really cool. We just messed around all lesson. He joined in as well. Got fired, so it didn't really work out well for him in the end. But you have that. You have that kind of that first year where everything is in its place, and you don't want to be out of that place. So I just remember keeping my head down, talking to different people, getting my first group of friends. This was before I had my actual friendship group that you'll see in future episodes of the DJ Bagpuss Show. And I have loads of friendship group, but my main friendship group from school that I'm still with today wasn't the people that I spoke to in year 7 and 8. But I'll come on to that. And you would make sure that you just had that good first year of settling down and getting adjusted to the confines of where you were. I remember, I kid you not, I was labelled at school as the bacon roll man, because at our secondary school we had, and in primary school you had snack time, you only had to bring in snacks, and then lunchtime you obviously had school dinners or a packed lunch. But here at secondary school, for the first time ever, at break time you could go and buy stuff, and they had stuff like cups of tea, bacon rolls, paninis. I thought it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I kid you not, I got one every single day, and I was literally like, this is absolutely amazing. I'm on fire. I cannot believe, they've got these types of things to do, when you've got these types of things to eat, and they're just brilliant. You would get these at home or on a Saturday morning, and I can have one every day at school at break time. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, me. This is just amazing. So it was little things like that. It was getting used to my surroundings, that transitional year, and you're doing stuff that you basically can just write off what you learned, because they're settling you into the lessons and the criteria and the units that you're about to do. You're not doing GCSE yet. You're still on Key Stage 3, and you're moving into Key Stage 4, and you're doing stuff that I don't even remember half the stuff that I did in Year 7. It was very simple stuff. You then get into Year 8, and that baby way, the baby phase of secondary school wears away, because you've now been at your school for a year. You've been there now for a whole year. You come back in September, so you've been there 12 months, and the teachers are not so lenient now if you're late to lessons. You should know where you're going, you know what lessons you're doing, and you feel comfortable at this new school. You've now been there for a year. This is where all the boys used to have their blazers, buttoned up. In Year 8, that just went. Screw having my buttons up, screw keeping my planner, tidy. That went away. You started to not care as much of the stuff that you were doing. And Year 8, again, is another probably throwaway year, because, I remember in Year 7 and 8, you're doing Key Stage 3, you're doing Key Stage 4. They're the teachers are being quite sneaky, because they're trying to learn of where you exactly are and what you're actually doing. They're predicting how well you're going to do in your GCSEs and what options you're going to do. But, in Year 7 and 8, you do all subjects. So you do English, Maths, Science, PE, RE, Citizenship, History, Geography. You do all of these different lessons. And you're mainly with your form group. And the only time you're in sets was English, Maths and Science. So I was top set English, because I'm really good at English. Not so good at Maths. I'm absolutely horrible at Maths. The thing is with Maths, I can do basic Maths, and I can do Maths that everyone uses, on a day-to-day basis. I'm really good with money. So Maths that you need in the real world, I'm actually really good at. It's all the algebra and Pythagoras, a squared plus b squared is c squared equals why the hell squared do we actually need this, and I'm still learning maths now. I'm about to take my exam in a couple of weeks' time, my maths exam. I'll tell you about my results later on, but I couldn't get my head around the more complex stuff that is you don't need in the real world, but you need to learn the technique behind it. The technique is what you're going to use in the real world. You're not actually going to use trigonometry or Pythagoras unless you go into a specialised subject that has, Pythagoras and trigonometry. So I wasn't particularly good at maths. Science, I basically messed around in science with my mates, and I wasn't particularly good at science. I enjoyed when we got into the late years, biology, when we did, did the dissection and learned about our human body. I don't care about the plants. And I don't care about what chemicals I'm going to use. I'm not going to use these chemicals. I'm not going to be a scientist. Science was a bit of a write-off for me. But I loved, history, geography, citizenship, even RE to a certain extent. I enjoyed RE because I like talking about things that make you ponder and make you wonder. I love stuff like that. But yeah, you basically can write off Year 7 and 8 because you're just learning general stuff that is going to build you into going into GCSEs. And yes, you do, you do mocks, you do exams, and you get on your reports, I got a 5C or a 4A. That's not going to, I'm not going to be remembered at my secondary school for getting, a 5A in English. Although I did get a 7C in history, which was very rare because obviously the higher the number, the better you are. And normally by the end of Year 8, you're probably in the 5, 6s if you're doing really well. And for some reason, I got a 7C in history. Didn't take history as a GCSE option, but I just enjoyed history, and I love writing. Writing about stuff. Talking, writing, the English. I just love that. So anything in terms to do with that, I really excelled at. But so you have that Year 7, Year 8. You mess about in Year 8. It again, I keep saying they're write-off years because they're not important years, but then you get to year 9, actually no, end of year 8, this is when it starts to become crunch time, because now, most of the schools that I, spoke to, friends that went to other schools, they picked their GCSE options at the end of year 9 and spent 2 years doing them. At my school, it was a little bit different. We had a year earlier, it was a year early that we picked our options and did GCSE. So we picked our options at the end of year 8, and then we had year 9, 10, 11. So we had 3 years doing our GCSE units and options, taking the final exams and doing our GCSEs in year 11. So rather than having 2 years, we had 3, which actually I think worked rather well. Having that extra year meant that we had more time to revise and learn the units, and the more time you can get, the better it is, really. So we did that, and I remember going to that night where you tick the options, and I love doing course citizenship. Obviously, you have to do English, maths, and chemistry, biology, physics. There are you have to do. We also had to do RE, which was half a GCSE, which I didn't get, because if it's half a GCSE, I'm not going to use half a GCSE, am I? Let's be fair, let's be frank. I'm not going to use half a GCSE. We did do another half, so it's just half. It's literally, it was pointless. It was absolutely pointless. If it was a full GCSE, then it would be, decent and, good for us to use. But it wasn't. It was half a GCSE. It was absolutely pointless. It was just stupid. And we also had to do, so it was just English, maths, chemistry, biology, physics, and RE we had to do. And then we could pick, I think, was it 3? Yeah, it was 3 options that we had to pick as well. So we had to have 3 options that we did. And I love doing course citizenship in year 7, 8 and 9. In year 7 and 8, sorry. So I picked citizenship as a GCSE a GCSE option. I then picked ICT because I wanted to work well with the computer, and it kind of works well now as I'm now doing editing and stuff. But I've always been fascinated with computers, and ICT ticked all the boxes. And then I picked media because I love films, games, use it, as you can see now, and that was the kind of where I learned lots of my stuff and stuff that I already knew. So those were my options. You get to year 9, and that is when you start doing your GCSEs. And I remember I was in top set GCSE for English. I went from 3rd to 2nd set in maths, and then I went from 3rd to top set in science. I don't know how I got to top set in science in year 11, because I was absolutely awful at science. I didn't really put a lot into my science lessons. I just used to mess about with friends. So I don't know how I got that. It's still one of life's mysteries of the fact that how I managed to get into top set in science. But I'll take it anyway. Sorry, need a drink. Mouth is incredibly dry. There we go. So yeah, I did all of that. What's today? There we go. So yeah, I was in those sets, and obviously you're in a set of your other people that took the GCSE option as well. It's not related to sets. When you take your GCSE options, it's just specific to what other students pick that option, and those are the people that are in your class. And so it was all about learning the early units. We didn't actually do any of the major coursework till kind of year 10 and year 11, but year 9 we were kind of just learning and doing mocks and kind of getting into that GCSE swing. It was also what my school did, is that I said earlier that I was, in year 7 and 8, I was friends with people from my form. I used to hang around with people from my form group. But what my school did is, it was right at the start of year 9, or it might have even been the end of year 8 actually, where they had an idea where they would split up, because obviously all the form groups were specific to year. So year 7 had their form groups, year 8 had their form groups, 9, 10 and 11 all had their form groups, etc. But what they did well is that they thought, rather than having it set to years, let's mix it up. So let's have form groups of students from year 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11, 6 and 6th form. So it would allow the older students to mentor the young students, and kind of create a diverse, form group of different ages, different views, and and what they did instead, they made us go into houses. So originally it was just form groups, and then we went into houses, which were named after birds. So it was Harrier, Kestrel, Osprey, and Eagle were the houses that we were in. I was in Harrier, and I remember what you could do is you could write down, when you were put into a new form group, you could write down 2 people of friends that you wanted in that form group with you. So I put down 2 friends at the time that were in my form earlier, and for some reason, by chance, they wrote down my name. So woohoo, I had friends. But it was when I got into year 9 and I spoke to them at class, but then they started to hang out with different people, and that is when I first formed the friendship group that I'm in now, which at the time was huge. There was like 14 of us, and I remember I remember quite clearly I was friends with one of them from English and a few of them from science, so I hanged around with them one break time. Then I met the other people in the group and then started hanging out with them, and it just built up from there. And then we spent 3 years just hanging around all together by our maths block. And I remember there was like 14, 15 of us, and a lot of the teachers used to say to me that I was really popular. Now, I never regard myself as popular. I'm not a vain person. I'm not that kind of person anyway. And at school, I never accounted myself as being popular. I never ever had that feeling. I never thought I was popular, but I got on with a lot of people. Obviously, I had some problems here and there, but I got on with everyone, and a lot of people knew me. I was quite well known in the school, and I used to get on with lots of people. So I don't know, maybe I was, but I never accounted myself as being popular. I always tried to, be nice to people as I normally am and stuff like that. But I never thought of myself as a really popular person. But I kept getting that from teachers, and when we all left, the amount of people that signed my shirt and the response we got at prom, which I'll get to as well, it kind of did make me think that maybe I was a little bit more popular than what I initially thought. But yeah, that was when we first got into that group. And I tell you now, that friendship group that I'm still with now, we had some amazing, amazing times. A lot of the time, I used to get pranked. Like once, we were sitting around at lunchtime, and I was eating my lunch, really, enjoying my sandwich, enjoying life, just talking generally. And one of my mates got a bit of his yogurt and threw it onto my shoe. Now, I looked down and I thought a bird had, pooed and it hit my shoe. And they all said, "Oh my God, you've been pooed on." Well, they didn't say pooed on, but I think you can guess what word they said. You've been pooed on by a bird. That's disgusting. All running away from me. So I thought, brilliant, that's just my luck. What I'll do is I'll go to the toilet. And I had to clean my shoe. And I was gagging because I generally thought it was bird poo. There was this weird smell that was coming. I thought it was originally coming from my shoe. And I cleaned it all off. I was gagging. I generally felt like I was going to puke because it was disgusting. It was bird poo. I went back over to their grave and they said, "Oh, yeah, it's fine." And then they all started bursting into laughter. And I was like, What are you laughing at? What's going on? And they then said it was yogurt, and I just felt like an idiot. I had yogurt. I was running and messing about with a ball, and one of my mates decided to throw a frube up in the air, and guess which person it hit and covered in the face? Let me think. Oh yeah, me. It hit me. Of course it would. And, we used to get up to all sorts of stuff. We really used to, and I wasn't a naughty kid, but I had that streak in me that I did like at times to mess about, and in lessons where I didn't enjoy the subject or thought I could get away with it, I would, as everyone, anyone would if they had that chance. I remember we also always used to play football, and I can't play football, so the job that I had was I was the ball boy, but I mistakenly called it the bus boy. Again, I was just a bit of an idiot back in school. So, when the ball went out, when they scored, I would run down and get it and then kick the ball around and then give it back to them and kind of join in with the action. and occasionally once, right, they asked me once to take a penalty, right? They were chanting me on because they knew I couldn't play football and they wanted to give me a bit of a boost and a bit of attention. They thought, right, let's have a penalty shootout. And I remember, right, I'm stepping up to take the penalty. I'm like, everyone's going, go on, son, you've got this. And I step up to take the penalty. I'm only about 13 yards away from the goal, and all my mates are outside the goal, chanting and jeering. So I run up, or run in my own unique way of running, but I run up to take the penalty, and then the next thing I know, I'm thrown to the floor. Because one of my mates thought it'd be hilarious to, tackle me during a penalty. I mean, do you watch football? Who gets tackled when they're taking a penalty? You can't tackle someone when they're taking a penalty. You have to stand there while I take the penalty. What sort of person decides to run out and rugby tackle me to the floor while I'm taking a penalty? And, I had to be carried off by some teachers because I really hurt myself. And then when I got home, I got screamed at by my mum because I shouldn't have been playing football in the first place. So, it was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. We had some amazing times in our friendship group, just as we do now. Also, remember a funny story is that two of my mates used to be in my science lessons, and we had this teacher who, I think she was high at the time. It's never been proved, but I think she was on drugs because she, set me up in the picture, right? We're in lesson. We had to cut out some pictures of plants because of photosynthesis or something, like that. And then, so we had to do that, and we were talking, and the whole class in general were kind of messing around, as you do. They didn't really respect her that much, and she used to get a lot of, every lesson would be, you always have that teacher that doesn't get the respect of the kids, and everyone talks over them and stuff like that. And I remember, she was saying, she said, the next person to speak, in a really low, she's like, next person to speak will be sent out. But I had this, and she said, if anyone doesn't finish this task of cutting out and sticking these photos of plants into the book, matching up with the names of them, then you have to stay behind. And obviously, you needed glue to do that. And I didn't have glue on the table. So I just went to her, and I literally said, ma'am, because we had to call our teachers sir or ma'am back in, in our secondary school. And I literally said, ma'am, can I have the glue? And she sent me out. And said that I was rude. She called my parents. I got an absolute rollicking when I got home from my parents saying that I was rude and had to go and apologise to her, asking her where the glue was. I mean, who gets sent out for asking where the glue was? She said the next person to speak was, is sent out. I didn't say anything bad. I wasn't messing around. I was generally asking, where's the glue? Can I have some glue? And then when I tried to defend that, apparently I was being rude. But I hold no grudges. And I wasn't a naughty kid. I wasn't rude. I got into trouble, I would say, probably a handful of times and used to mess around. But it was innocent. And particularly when I got into year 10 and year 11, I literally, after messing around in year 7, 8 and 9, I really knuckled down and focused solely on the work. And I normally had been doing that mainly in the subjects I liked. A bad habit that I've got, if I do something that I don't like, I kind of switch off. And that isn't a good thing. So I've got to try and address that. But also, as you know from the title of the video, it says the inception of DJ Bagpuss, and this was because the name DJ Bagpuss came from secondary school. We were in a maths lesson, and this was at the time where I wanted to go into, I knew at the point I wanted to be a radio DJ. So earlier I wanted to be a pathologist, and then a film reviewer, and then I also wanted to be a sports presenter, a commentator, and then just a TV presenter anyway. So lots of people knew that I wanted to do that. And then when I said I wanted to be a radio DJ, and they were saying, well, if you had your own radio show, what would your DJ name be? And I was like, I couldn't think of anything. And I remember we were sitting in maths one day, and I don't know why this came about, but my maths teacher put on a video, which was Bagpuss, the Bagpuss cat, talking about maths. And a girl, and I remember this clear as day, she turned to me and she said, Bagpuss, your first name of your last name is Bag, and then Puss at the end, DJ Bagpuss. What a great name. That sounds brilliant. And I said, yeah, okay, I'm DJ Bagpuss then. And everyone called me that. That was my nickname in school from like the end of year 10, going right the way through to when we actually left school. That was my actual name. My name was DJ Bagpuss, and it stuck with me till this day. Now that I'm doing YouTube, I've called my YouTube name DJ Bagpuss, and the channel is, the show is the DJ Bagpuss Show. So that is how that came about. And I said, why call me Bagpuss? And she went, well, you're really, soft and funny, and you don't have a bad bone in your body, hence the name Bagpuss. I don't really know if that is a compliment or an insult, comparing me to a pink fluffy cat, but I'm going to take it as a compliment. And as I've, nearly got 1,000 views and quite a few subscribers now because of the name, it's just going to stick to it. And I said to them, in 10 years' time, you're going to be hearing me on the radio, the DJ Bagpuss Show. Yeah, and I'm telling you now, it's going to happen. And to my surprise, it is sort of happening now because I'm doing the DJ Bagpuss Show, but on YouTube. But I've got my own show, and I'm showing it to the whole world because of the internet. I'm not getting paid for it, but that is what I'm doing now, and it's just absolutely amazing, particularly now as I've got into the stage now where I can look back at school, and that really being the moment which has kind of defined me as a person. And I had some bad times in school, but I had some really, really positive times in secondary school. And what you're doing now, learning, having lessons, being with friends, leads up to what you're actually meant to do at the end of secondary school. And that is your GCSE, the exams that you do, at the end of May. And once you've had your last exam in June, you leave, and you've got prom to look forward to, which is kind of the final bit of closure from secondary school. And for some reason, I always think GCSE exams should be in winter, because it's in the summer, it's boiling hot, you lose your train of concentration, and it is such a it's really annoying to have scorching heat and having to concentrate and do exams. It really can be quite frustrating. But obviously, you've been revising for weeks and weeks and weeks. I didn't do a lot of revising at home, but luckily my school did an evening class from 5 to 8 o'clock where you could stay behind and revise. And I did that for about 2 months, and I left it a little bit late, but as you'll find out later on, it works rather well, because I'm the sort of person that I really struggle to work at home. I do coursework. If I'm doing stuff that I like, I'm happily can do it at home. But if I'm doing stuff like maths or stuff that I don't like, I struggle to do it at home. But when I'm in the environment of school and college, I can do it, no problem. But yeah, so you have your first exams, you get your timetable, you have to hand your phone in, you're not with teachers, with invigilators, and I swear down, it's the same 4 people that go to every single different school. I'll set the scene for you. So you have this type of invigilator, invigilator who comes in your exam and goes, here is your examination paper. I hope you do very, very well. Very, very well. Makes basically the very creepy one who stares at you and makes you feel really uncomfortable. The person that is too nice for your own good, really, really kind. And in contrast, you have the lady that sits there that, you're not really meant to mess with, but, she's a little bit nice, and she, sits there and goes, are you okay? Do you need anything? Are you sure you're okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Okay, good luck with your exam paper. And then you basically just get the normal one that goes around and says, you alright? Well done. Good exam paper. Yeah? Enjoying it? Brilliant. Well done. But you always get the alpha male wolf pack leader of the invigilators. He's basically Claude from The Apprentice. He is Claude. This is a guy that will, rip out your heart, throw it against the wall, get a platter and stab it through your heart if you mess with him. This is a guy that you don't want to mess with. He could be leader of the mafia, he could be a gangster, and our Wolfpack Invigilator actually looks like Claude from The Apprentice. This is the sort of guy who is the head of all the Invigilators, and this is the kind of guy, he wants you to know where you are sitting, he wants to know your place and know that you can't mess him around. This is the sort of person which sort of goes like this, and he goes, students, there is no cheating, no looking, no breathe in, you are worthless, you are nothing, you're going to be a hobo, you disgust me, you repulse me, now get on with your paper. And you're just like, alright, let me just walk out now. God, that actually well hurt my voice. Oh. But yeah, this is the kind of person that literally is the Wolfpack alpha male. The guy that if he catches you in an inch of doing anything that is away from the safety rules, regulations of a GCSE exam, your life is over. You can forget doing GCSEs. Your life is over. That is it. It's done. Finish. Finito. Gone. You know. And I remember I had some really tough exams. I had a 2-hour English exam. I had a 4-hour maths exam because I was submitted in for foundation higher because they thought I could pass the higher, but I could fail the higher, but I could pass the foundation or fail the foundation either. And like with maths exams, you know, the foundation is relatively easy, but you have to get the entire paper correct. Where on the higher, it's harder, but you only need about 30 marks on both to pass. And I did the higher paper, and then I went straight into doing the foundation paper. So it was like a 4-hour maths exam. Yeah, that was tough. I did obviously my media exam and my IT exam, my citizenship, chemistry, biology, physics. Did all my exams. You know, felt I did relatively alright. I didn't really know. I was absolutely bricking it over that summer because I didn't know if it was going to go well or if I was doing well. You know, all of that. I didn't know. You know, what was going to happen. Like, do you know what I mean? I didn't know whether this was going to be a good thing or a bad thing for me. You know, and I thought in something like English media stuff, the subjects that I was good at, I thought I was going to pass. The subjects that I wasn't too good at, I thought, easy, I'm going to fail. You know, it's going to be a straight up fail. But, you know, you do all your exams, you've left school. We had to go back to do another bit of coursework, you know, I think in 2 weeks' time. We did that for a week. And that was it. And, you know, before you had your results, you come into about the 4th week of August and do your result and get your results. But before that, it's prom night. Prom night. Prom night, the greatest night ever. Now, I regret this, but at school, I don't know how it came about, but I started when we were really bored in lessons. I sang in front of the class, and I was absolutely horrible at singing. I'm an awful singer, so I think I just did it to make people laugh. You know, I would sing like Christmas songs to them. You know, I would do so much stupid stuff. So I was known as kind of a bit of a performer. But prom night, you know, I dress up in, you know, 007. This is a picture of what my prom suit was like. You know, and I remember, you know, 100% we went to a hotel which had like its own party venue room, and you know, I was with all of my friends, and it was a brilliant night. I cannot recommend, if you're at school, make sure you go to prom because it's just a brilliant night where you can relax. Girls can let their hair down, guys can, well, if they've got long hair, let their hair down. But you know, you can relax, you can chat with friends, and basically party. I mean, I danced all night long. I partied. When I go to parties, I'm a dancer, very bad dancer, but I loved. I spent, you know, about 3.5 hours. First hour speaking with my mates, and then I danced for the rest of my. I know my mates dance, apart from a couple of times where some of the girls got a couple of my friends to go up and dance with them. I didn't dance for that night. You know, they didn't dance all night. But I was on the dance floor all night long. And then I remember the final bit of prom night was where everyone got up on the dance floor. It was all of me and my mates, and the song See You Again from Fast and Furious 7 came on. And I remember getting lifted. One of my mates picked me up and lifted me up into the air, and all of them like were holding me, thinking I was going to fall and die. So I was absolutely petrified. But it was a brilliant night of closure. To like 5 years of school, you always have to have that bit of closure. You know, you have to, you know, ensure that you're gonna do well in the long run, and you have to have that little bit of closure and that little bit of, you know, just having that bit of kindness, you know, and you know, having the start of your secondary school life, and then, you know, ticking it off when you leave school after doing your exams before you get your results, which is kind of the final nail in the coffin. You know, which is that bit of closure, that bit of fun, and it's just a brilliant night. I highly recommend, you know, anyone going to prom because it's just a superb night to be involved with. And then it comes, over the summer, you're bricking it, you're trying to do things to pass the time. I remember going around with my mates, I went on holiday with my parents and my family, but you get to that point where it's the morning of your results. It's results day, GCSE results day. And this is a huge day because this is the day that could make or break your future. I wanted to go to college and I had gone to the interview, I had really adored my course. Like, this course I knew was going to be so brilliant for me, and all I needed now was 5 GCSEs to get my foot in the door and be on the course. I was nervous. I kind of really thought, let's see how it is. I'm a sort of person that only worries about something when it actually is happening. So I was thinking to myself, it's either going to go one or two ways. Either it's going to be brilliant, or it's just going to become like a train wreck, But I was optimistic, shall we say. But I went up into the school, got my envelope. I opened up my envelope, took it out of the slip just slightly. English is always first. I remember seeing English literature, A. English language, A. Citizenship, A. Media, B. ICT, A. So as soon as I knew I got my 5 A to C's, I walked away with 4 A's, 2 B's, 2 C's. I got 2 A's in English language and literature. I then got an A in ICT, A in citizenship. I got a B in media. I also got a C in English language, again because we took an English language course in year 10, which was basically a backup if we failed our English exam in year 11. So that was brilliant. I got my 5 A to C's. I got D's. I got 2 D's in. I got a D in chemistry. I got an E in chemistry, a D in biology, and a D in physics. So I failed science, but I really didn't, to be fair, care about science. I wasn't good at science. And again, I keep saying I messed about, which I kind of regret because it's always good to have more GCSEs that you need. But unfortunately, at my secondary school, I got a D in maths, but you had to get 40 marks on the higher paper to pass. I got 37. Considering that I didn't put a lot, I could have put way more into maths, and that is one of my only regrets in life, that I wish I'd just put a little bit more work into maths, which means I would have got a pass, I would have got it, under my belt, and I wouldn't have to worry about it now at college. And I just regret that, particularly as I was so close. I got an E in the foundation, so I was either further in the foundation than the higher. But yeah, I was so close to getting my C in maths, and that was the only real negative thing that I kind of felt bad about. But there was a lot of people out there that didn't get 1 GCSE, so I got my 5. I was very proud, very honoured, and it was just, I think overall, talking about school, it's so important. Yes, have a bit of fun, mess about with mates. I'm not saying not to do that, but when you get to like year 10 and year 11, the best thing to do is just knuckle down, get on with your work, have a bit of fun, mess around at break time and lunchtime, not in the lesson though. And if you're doing something that you don't like, just keep persisting with it and put as much effort as you can into it. Because if I put just a teeny bit more effort into maths, I would have passed. I could have put a bit more effort into science. I worked my absolute, nut off in English, media, ICT, all the subjects that I really enjoyed. I put 110% into everything that I was doing. So I could have got even, better GCSEs. I could have got like 9, 10 GCSEs. At the end of the day, I got I've got either 5 or 6 GCSEs, enough that I need to start the job that I want to do. But it's so important to knuckle down and just get on with your work, and just to really kind of it's such a small part of your life. It's such a small time. You can have fun in the first 2-3 years, but it's 2 years, and if you knuckle down and work hard, you're going to set up a successful future for yourself, and it will just make or break you. So I highly recommend, I can't stress enough, just to knuckle down, work your socks off in year 10 and 11, then, because you've got 4 months where you can do absolutely what you want, when you want, once you leave school, before you start college, and before you get your results. So it will all be worth it, and trust me, if you get the right results, you do well. So this is near to the time where lots of people in school are going to be taking their GCSEs. I've got 2 maths exams at my college in a couple of weeks' time. I'm also doing the deadlines to my college course. So anyone out there that is still at school and is, on the verge of taking their GCSEs, good luck. You're going to absolutely ace it. You're going to do so well. And I really hope that every single person out there watching this gets the grades that they want, and the grades, more importantly, that they deserve. So yeah, that was basically, I've spent an hour talking about my secondary school. And this year in February, because obviously on my college course you have to do 40 hours of work experience. No, I think it's 36 hours work experience, not 40 hours, sorry. But I then got a job as a TA in the music department. It kind of linked back, to the course that I'm doing now. And because I knew the school, I got in contact with them and spent a week there. And that was weird. That was really weird. That was weird being, going to a lesson, being at a lesson and not being at a lesson. I don't even know what I'm going on about here. So what happens when you talk for an hour constantly? You start saying just rubbish. What I've meant to say is, when you go back to a school that you attended for 5 years, you sort of, I felt like I was still a student. I felt like I was still the student, and I had to behave as a student. It wasn't when, teachers will call them, saying, go get a cup of tea, you go in the staff room. It was just weird being at a place that I'd been a student for, 5 years, coming back and being treated as a staff member. I couldn't get my nut around it. It was so weird. It was odd. It was strange. It was so strange being, at a school that I attended as a staff member. But it was great. I was helping out students, who were playing the keyboard. I was, tidying around, doing display boards, doing all that good stuff. The whole that school have a mixer desk, and the sound technician was having a problem where they were setting up for the yearly talent show that the school do, and she couldn't get some of the channels that connect to the microphones that the students use in the performance. And I went up there, she said, I told her what I was doing, and she was like, it's Christmas, can you come up and help me and see if you can figure this out? And I fixed it in about 10 minutes, and she was really, really appreciative of. It was just weird. It was just strange, bizarre being back at a place which I had spent so many hours being in as a student, and coming back as a staff member. It was odd, but I really, really enjoyed going back there, and it was great to get back to a place which kind of defined me as a person. I didn't love school, but I had some good moments at school. It wasn't at times my favourite place, but I enjoyed aspect, and particularly in my later years. I didn't enjoy the early years of school, of my secondary school, but I loved the late years, particularly as I got into year 9, 10 and 11, and yes, I have regrets. Yeah, looking back, I could have done things differently, but I enjoyed every single moment that I was, at a part being at my secondary school. And it defined me as a person, really, to be fair. It really did define me. So, let's then go right the way back to the beginning of my education and talk about primary school. Let's end the episode talking about primary school. I'm probably going to talk about primary school for about 15 minutes. And then we will end the episode there. We'll end the episode in about 15-20 minutes time. So if you've enjoyed this episode so far, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. And also leave your questions, comments and queries all about your school days. Get involved and tell me all about your school days. I'm going to have a drink now. Oh. When you're talking for over an hour, it's like people at conferences when they talk for over an hour. I can't imagine you just need water to constantly talk. Bottles stay. There we go. So yeah, primary school. I remember. Bottle's just gone. Stay. There we go. I remember. Sorry about that. I remember talking about going to my primary school, and I remember certain things about primary school where you were a kid. You had no worries. You had no concerns. You didn't have to worry about lessons. You were just there. It's basically just a bit of a laugh. And there were so many great things in school, but a lot of things I look back on and think were just stupid. This, for example. Good morning, Mrs. So-and-so, and good morning, everyone. Who starts the day like that? Could you imagine me going to my mates, for this party tonight, going into the party, instead of going hi, going, good evening, all my mates, and good evening, everyone. I would just get punched in the face. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that in a million years. I wouldn't, start the day like that. Why was it every single day? Why did we have to start the day like that? It was just, it was so bizarre. But there was some great moments in school, in primary school. You come in and you do your lesson, and then you'd have break time. You would then, I remember you'd make sandwiches, you would do these brilliant experiments, you would play music, and there were so many great things about primary school, because it was just about the innocence. It wasn't, it wasn't like secondary school where you had lessons and you had to think about units of coursework, like I'm doing now at college. At college, every day it would kind of, you did something that was kind of specific. It was more of having a laugh, being around good groups of friends, and just enjoying it. School was really enjoyable in primary school. There were so many great things that I remember. I remember, right, there's this thing in primary school, if you remember, where there would be just a sentence that your teacher would say that it wouldn't just make your day, it would make your week. You were going home, on cloud bloody nine. You were on absolute fire right now. You were just at the centre of just greatness itself. It's when the teacher would go, "Okay, class, we have 5 minutes to spare. Who wants a game of heads down, thumbs up?" You're like, yes, boy! Come on, heads down, thumbs up. This is just brilliant, But it was kind of the same person would be on every single day. You waited, you urged for the moment when you were on the heads down, thumbs up, and your teacher said, "Well, you can be on next time, dear." And were you ever on next time? I don't think you were. And you always could tell who the person was on. But, was the trainers that they wore, Action Men, or if it was a girl, Disney Princess, or Kim Possible, or some shoe like that. You would know exactly what they were wearing. It would give away the entirety of the game. I remember we had golden time on a Friday 2:00. It was Fridays were brilliant. We used to go swimming in the morning, so we'd get on the coach, go to have our swimming lesson. We'd come back, we'd have a maths test, spelling test, and then it was school dinners. Like, school dinners back in the day were just absolutely just amazing. Just before we go on to golden time, I had a packed lunch on a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. Friday, I always had a school dinner because it was fish fingers, chips and beans, or burger, chips and beans, and then you had a chocolate pudding for dessert, without fail, every single Friday. And Wednesdays were always roast dinner day. You'd have chicken, beef, pork, something like that, potatoes, batter pudding, and carrots. And then you'd also have a sponge cake for dessert, and it was the same thing every week. My favourite moments of primary school were literally, my favourite moments of primary school were literally just school dinners in itself. The school dinners were absolutely just amazing. School dinners were just, you were off the freaking chain if you had a school dinner, and they were just better. But golden time every Friday was brilliant. You could have a talent show in the classroom, or you could go out and play a bit of sports, or we used to watch this show which was like 10 episodes every Friday, but it always would leave on a cliffhanger. So we'd play stuff like 40 Towers, Dark Towers, and Fairground rides. And if you were absent, you missed out that week, so you had to catch up with the cliffhanger. And it was just a brilliant time. And I remember there was 2 moments in primary school that defined you as the person. The first occasion, sports day. This was like the FIFA World Cup. This was the primary school World Cup affair. You were not just representing your school, you were representing the world. And I always got the dress up race, or the egg and spoon race. I always got the worst race to ever do. I remember I had to put on a pink fluffy blouse and a massive hat, and then I wouldn't hold the hat, so every time I run, the hat would come off, and I had my parents and my family screaming in the background telling me to go. I never won. I always came last. I was always in the group that always came last without fail. And we did sports day at secondary school, and I didn't even bother to to go to sports day at secondary school, because I would always come last. I couldn't do any of the sports. I wasn't a sportsman. I wasn't a boy that would climb on trees and jump from pillar to pillar. I would always come last, and everyone would go, well, it's not about winning, it's about taking part that counts. Is that really? Are you sure? When I'm known as, the person that comes last every single time, the person that slows up the entire school. Yeah, that's great. Cheers for that. Love that. Why on earth am I, doing this? Why am I having to participate and be part of, a sports day when I come bloody last every bloody time? Brilliant. Well done. Great one. So you'd have that day, it'd be a whole day related to, the World Cup of, the school. This was a day where you'd be off on fire. However, and something which also happened, which is another day where you were absolutely buzzing, school disco. Now, I talked about prom, and that's kind of the defining party of secondary school. Your school discos was the defining day of primary school. Like, oh my days, if you were rocking up with a Trailblazer t-shirt and Action Man trainers, no one wanted to even know. And you'd go in and you have all your money, you'd get, 3, 4, Diet Cokes, and you get those little sweets that would make you, you have a great buzz and a great session going off them. And, it was in the early days of pulling. So if you tried to get a girl, if you didn't have the Trailblazers, if you didn't have the Action Man trainers, if you didn't have, those little sweets and a Diet Coke to constantly drink throughout the night, don't even bother. Don't even bother trying to woo your way of the girl. You had to learn all of the moves to cha-cha slide, and you had to be on point. And you had to, you firstly had to do the. That one, and then you had the cha-cha slide where you had to how low you go, all of that, and if you didn't know the moves to that, if you didn't get involved with it, then you didn't even have a chance to talk to girls. And you felt you got so hyped and energetic for a school disco. It was like you were going to buy drugs or buy crates of vodka, and you were partying to the most explicit songs known to man. And it was a school disco at the end of the day. It was, those were great nights. Like, I remember my school discos. Every time there was a Christmas school disco or something like that, you had to go because you were on fire going to a school disco. It was absolutely, insane going to a school disco. And of course, when you get to year 6, you have that holiday where, you go to either France or Holland. We went to France for a week in year 6, and I tell you, that was such a great holiday. We went to Disneyland Paris, we went to the beach. We used to, it was like basically the gang that I used to hang around with primary school. We had our own, we had our own room, and we were all in the room together. And I remember, you had to be asleep by 11 o'clock. And I remember my mum packed me 3 crates of Cocoa Pop bars, and I remember about 10 past 11, I thought, right, the coast is clear. I used to get them out of my suitcase and throw them up into the air, and give a Cocoa Pop bar to everyone. And we always used to be the last one asleep, and we'd hear the teachers coming down the corridor, coming into our room, and we'd be like, everyone, right, you're asleep, go! That holiday was just great, and I just remember a lot of great times in primary school. It's innocent, it's fun, you can just enjoy yourself and enjoy the time that you have in school. But then you come to the moment where you're leaving primary school. And honestly, looking back, it's like that we're dying. It's like that it's our last days on this planet and we're dying. You get your shirt signed, and you have this book. I used to get a book. I had this book where lots of people would write down their mobile numbers, say we'll be in touch. They were crying, saying, I'm really sad to see you go. I absolutely adored you. People are crying. You have your final dinner. You have all your teachers sign your, and it's like, please, you're not dying. Yes, you're leaving primary school, but that is it. That is it. At the end of the day, that's all you're doing. You're leaving primary school to move up into secondary school. That is it. And I also remember at the time looking for my new secondary school, and when you go on the visits with your parents, you look at certain different schools. didn't take the 11 plus. I could have taken the 11 plus, but I don't think I would have got through the maths, and I don't think I was very well at the time, so I physically couldn't take the 11 plus. So grammar schools were out the equation, so I was just looking at state schools, which is, there's nothing different between grammar school and state school. You just get more work. Who really wants that? But I remember at the time, what was I saying? Yeah, I remember going round and visiting different schools, and I didn't get a good vibe for any of them. I didn't enjoy any of the ones that I visited. However, when it came to my actual secondary school that I attended, I remember liking it, and some of my friends were going there, so that also made me want to go to that as well. But I just remember the woman that was showing us around took us around every obstacle, and she painted a really bleak picture. You wouldn't go around the entire school every single day. She took us up every nook and cranny, took us everywhere. I think she didn't really want me to go to the school, but in the end, obviously, I did, and attended that secondary school. But yeah, primary school was fun. It was innocent. I don't have too fond memories of it, but I just remember it, playing around, having fun, not really taking it seriously. But and now, obviously, when I left secondary school going into college, which I've talked about before, that nervousness and anticipation moving from, school to college, although it's designed to one specific place, and it takes you about a good, I'd say, couple of terms to settle in with the course, with your teacher, with your new peers and friends, and kind of knowing where you've got to go, and mainly because you're in one place most of the time, it becomes quite an easy thing to do. And I now know this college by the back of my hand. But yeah, it's great. And now I've got great groups of friends. I've got my main friendship group that I spoke to from school and still are in touch now. I now have my college friends, which are my main college group that I speak to, and then I have loads of different people that I know that are friends with from school and now from college. So I've got a good group of friends. I've got great qualifications. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm loving life now, and yeah, it's been a great time at education. I've really enjoyed what I've done, and I've enjoyed being in this position of having being in school. I've had some great moments. I've had moments of joy. I've had moments of despair. But overall, I'm just school is such an important time, and it does feel like a huge part, but it will go so quickly. And before you'll be in my position where you're coming right to the end of your education. You're going into the big bad world of work. So it's enjoyable, and there are moments that you're going to love, there are moments that you're not going to like, but overall you've just got to enjoy every single moment, and if you do, then that's great, and you just got to keep that going and going and going. That's it though, an hour and 17 minutes. It's been really enjoyable doing this in one long part. I've really enjoyed doing this episode, and all episode from the DJ Bagpuss Show are going to be like this now, just in one long part, very similar to my first ever episode, but this time it's the first time that I've done a long episode with the face cam, and also I don't have to do the forfeit, because you remember in my last episode of the DJ Bagpuss Show, in the gaming episode, I said I'll do a forfeit in the next episode of Bagpuss Uncut if I got 15 or less than 15 in the Call of Duty quiz that I did in part 4 that I'll leave a link to in the description. I got 21, so we don't have to do a forfeit, but I'm going to be doing lots of different stuff and forfeits like that, and hope you've enjoyed this episode. This is the end of the episode. Leave your questions, comments, queries down in the comment section below. If you, on your school days, tweet me using the hashtag at DJ Bagpuss Show. My Twitter is at DJ Bagpuss98, where you can get involved and talk about your school days. And I'll pick some out and talk in the next episode of the DJ Bagpuss Show. But that is it. I hope you've really enjoyed the episode. Next episode of the DJ Bagpuss Show, which is going to be out next Friday, is going to be a very different, very serious episode, which I'm going to be doing, so stay tuned for that. I hope you've enjoyed the episode, and this is DJ Bagpuss signing out. I hope you've enjoyed it. The lessons are now over, school is now over, and I'm now dismissing all of you. Hope you've enjoyed the episode, hope you all are doing alright. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall speak to you very, very soon. Take care. This is, again, DJ Bagpuss signing out. See you next week.